Hello, everyone. Today I wanted to talk about what is often a somewhat controversial topic regarding different types of diets that exist. I myself have eaten a pretty strict vegan diet for the last 5 years or so. Initially, I decided to do it for what I believed to be health reasons in my best interest, and ultimately decided that the animal rights issues were enough alongside the health benefits I feel I received to not really sway from the diet. Um, it's not something I really talk about all that often. I guess some people know about it because, well, I don't know, it's a topic of conversation that is interesting to discuss with your peers. Um, and recently I was engaged in a discussion with a group of friends, and I sort of took the stance of basically saying that I have kind of always felt that um, the cliche of sort of be the change you want to see in the world is the best way to approach this. And a friend of mine said, well, no major change has ever really stuck without some sort of massive disruption. And he suggested I make a video about it, or I suggested I could do that. He said it would be a good idea. So whatever the case may be, here I am discussing this. Um, and yeah, I mean, the reasons to do it are obvious. The reasons not to do it, I guess, are also somewhat obvious. There's a lot of debate scientifically about certain vitamin and mineral deficiencies that you might experience on a vegan diet. Proponents of it are obviously oftentimes going to fall into the animal rights camp, saying, you're not causing suffering when you don't have to. Some advocates against it will sometimes say, well, you're killing the plants anyway. Oftentimes it's approached, at least from my understanding and experience, from more of a biological health standpoint, generally referencing B12 deficiencies, protein deficiencies, these sorts of things. For me, it's just something I don't really see myself swaying from. If at any point I started to really crave animal products, I guess I would give it a second thought. But something that people might find interesting is that, and I'll just preface this by saying I grew up eating what is a fairly traditional American diet, had steak, had fish, all that stuff. My parents are, just sort of run-of-the-mill working class Americans. Was brought up middle class. Didn't have extreme poverty, fortunately, to deal with. Certainly wasn't on the high end of the earning spectrum. And yeah, over the last 5 or 6 years or however long it's been, I can only really speak for myself, but it's not even that I don't crave meat. It's that actually the smell of meat and fish actually becomes somewhat displeasing. It's not. It's not like, oh wow, I smell a burger, like that tastes good. It's like, oh, I smell that actually doesn't taste good. And I don't know how much scientifically backed evidence there is to this, but I have heard that your sensory organs, whether it's your taste buds or your sense of smell, will actually be somewhat representative of what's in your blood, what your blood is comprised of. And, the old adage, you are what you eat, definitely comes to mind in this sense. And, I also think, just generally in this sort of topic that's somewhat up for debate, the environmental issues are also worth considering alongside the animal rights issues. There are just a lot more resources that go into raising cattle or chicken or pigs, whatever it is, to be slaughtered. It's likely not a sustainable practice. That's, again, up for debate. But I sort of look at this in a very holistic way, and I realize that, there's a lot of people still on planet Earth that don't have access to clean food and water, or even any food and water in some cases. And I'm obviously not going to sit here on some sort of high horse and say that, oh, if they have access to meat, they shouldn't consume it. It's not like that. And I even think, like, for the average person, even if they have the resources and ability to eat a vegetarian or a vegan diet, I don't even necessarily think that that's the right choice for everyone. Some people have certain deficiencies. I was just listening to a podcast the other day with a guy who, it's actually really fascinating. He was captured by Somali pirates, and yeah, whole crazy story. Was in captivity for almost 3 years, and when he got out, his doctor specifically told him that you shouldn't eat a vegetarian diet. You're a bit too deficient, and you need to consume things that are going to essentially fatten you back up. Not to say that most people in first world countries are in that state, but I'm not a health professional. I don't know all the nuances of what people need and what's going to be best for everybody. What I do know is that it's worth exploring, and if it's something you've been considering or have seen people in your life have success with, it might be worth giving it a shot. To attest to my friend's point of putting out content of this nature, were it not for people that had done similar things, I never would have made the transition myself. I only found out about the idea of a vegan diet through YouTube videos, and it was there that sort of sparked my interest. One of the major turning points for me, even before I made the choice to try it out for, again, what were primarily what I believe to be health reasons in my best interests, I really considered the idea of killing an animal, and I really just had to be honest with myself, like, do I think that I could kill a chicken or a cow or whatever and, skin it and eat it and whatever, without feeling some degree of guilt or wrongdoing? And I had to honestly say no. Like, I don't think I could do that. I think I would feel wrong. And, there's often the case to be made that, oh, well, you pay other people to do it. That's like free market and capitalism and, generally trading of services. And I think that's fine. Trading services, that's great. It makes the world go round. Not everyone can do everything. I sort of discussed this in one of my last videos. But to be able to pay for a service for something that you yourself might not even be able to do, I think it is something else. Not skill-wise, but ethically or morally. And that's really, I think, where the crux of a lot of this comes down to is, you are taking another life. And I personally have more respect for people that get into hunting and, are closer to the source of their food. And I understand this isn't realistic for everybody, but I generally think that that's admirable, is, to want to cut out the middleman, so to speak. And, it's not for me, but I think what those people are doing is a bit better. It's likely a more sustainable practice. It's just generally an interesting thing to think about, and perhaps something that maybe this video will spark some others to do. I look to further pursue agriculture and gardening in my years to come. I actually have an avocado plant growing. It's quite exciting. I have another, I think, 6.5 years or so, or thereabouts, before it might yield some fruit. But yeah, it's nice to, at least from my perspective, to be closer to the source of your food, to have a better understanding of where it's coming from, and just to generally feel that connection with it. I think that's something that grocery stores, while obviously very convenient, have sort of taken away from our society, and something to say to rather take the natives, for example, did a very good job of. They were very appreciative of their food sources and even the animals that they killed for food. They expressed a deep reverence for them, using all different parts of the animal. And I think even if it's obviously not realistic to think that everybody's going to become or rather pursue a plant-based diet overnight, or even in the near future, or potentially ever. I think that's something that we can kind of all agree on is just generally a better practice, is to just sort of express that reverence and that appreciation for what it is that you're getting out of it. And I don't really think there's much argument against gratitude being something that's generally just going to improve your life. So yeah, that's kind of my general thoughts on the topic. If people enjoy this, I'm happy to talk more about it. Yeah, I don't really enjoy, or I haven't really, I guess in the past, enjoyed talking about this too much because it's easy to come off preachy, but it's really not my intention. I understand that people are autonomous beings, free to make their own choices, and yeah, this is my choice. So hope some of you enjoyed this, and yeah, much love. Peace.